Hi, I'm Tim Bartz, Internet Sales Manager here at McArthur Ford in Salina, Kansas, your source for Ford news update and information, including your scheduling information on a Tuesday evening. Hopefully, you guys are doing well tonight. And this video is really for those that have an order placed with their dealer and are needing to get it scheduled for production date. If you already scheduled, this information is not relevant to you, but also it's but otherwise, yeah, if you're waiting for an order, then hopefully this will help you out. And this video here will be covering what the factories are going to be scheduling for this Thursday, October 2nd. And we're going to cover what the outlook is for next month for later in a couple of weeks for those December production dates. So we'll get into that as well in today's video. So let's jump in and cover this. And first I want to talk about is go over the, make sure you're subscribed with the bell notification turned on so you don't miss any of our videos. Make sure I get that in. Make sure I give myself a little plug there, but let's jump in and go over some of the terminology here. And if it's first time watching one of our videos, make sure you watch this part because you could answer a lot of questions for you and save you having to put in a comment down there and a question for me to get back to later. So here we go. All right. So what we're talking here in this video is those people that had placed that order with their local dealer. Those orders are placed by the dealer in what they call the order bank. That's where they place all their stock and retail orders. Now, retail orders, that is a customer placed order. That means that it's telling Ford that a customer is going to buy that when it gets built. So they want to prioritize those. A stock order, that's an order that's placed by a dealer, and that'll be for their lot or their stock inventory. There for them to always have when people need a car, or need a truck, or want to buy one, and they can just go to the lot and buy one that day, right? Priority code, that's a priority that's given to those orders by the dealer. And a dealer can give any retail order anything from an 03 to 19. 19 is the default, but they can give it any of those numbers in there. And 20 to 80 for stock. And 80 is the default, but then dealers can move those down if they want to prioritize different stock ones as a higher priority. Now, the lower the better. So that's why retails are always looked at for scheduling before a stock order. Scheduling. That's when Ford schedules an order for production dates in the future months. So what we're talking about this week is for what's going to schedule this October 2nd for those production dates in November, which is what we're talking about here. And then production date, that is when Ford plans to build your vehicle. And those dates can move around. First, it's going to get scheduled to the week. And then as it gets closer, they might need to move that. Depends on the supplier and what they are able to get to them. Maybe they didn't get them what they thought, so they might have to move it back. And then eventually it'll get scheduled to the day as well as it gets closer. Then allocations. Ford gives dealers allocations to schedule their orders. A dealer needs an allocation to schedule an order in the order bank. A dealer earns those allocations based on their sales of each model within the region. So an order cannot get scheduled without a dealer having an allocation. If a dealer has 0 allocations for a particular model, you have an order in there, it's just going to sit there until the dealer has an allocation. All right, a constraint, that's an option that may be in short supply or take longer to build for some reason. And a capacity, that's the planned production rate of a given motor trim or option in the order system. Job 1 and 2, Ford will split the production into different job runs within the model year, and that allows them, if there's any change to supplier demand or a new feature that they can't introduce at the beginning of the year, they don't want to have to wait a whole model year, so they'll introduce those in what they call job 2. And then balance out, that's the end of production or the balance out of a particular model option or model for the end of the year, that kind of thing. So there you go. So that's that information is, and as I kind of mentioned, allocation, that's a big one. That's, a lot of people say, I'm not getting scheduled. What is my order got a constraint? It may have nothing to do with your order. It could be as easy as the fact that your dealer doesn't have an allocation and they're not earning an allocation for some reason. Typically, if they see orders, then they'll get some allocations. But if a dealer takes a bunch of orders and their allocation number is small, it could take multiple months to be able to get those all scheduled. So that's a possibility as well. So that's a conversation you have to have with your dealer. But for those that have allocations available and then they're not getting scheduled, here are some of the things that Ford is scheduling for this week. So let's start off with the 26 model year Mustang. The order banks are open up for the 26 model year Mustang. And right now that they are not scheduling this week, they've already scheduled out their production for those November build dates. All right, next up is a 25 model year Bronco Sport. The order banks are open up for the Bronco Sport for 25 model year. That should be opening up for 26 model year here in a couple weeks. And then they are not scheduled this week. And again, they've pretty much scheduled out all their November production dates. All right. Next up is a 25 model year Bronco. Order banks are open up for the Bronco as well. And again, just like with the Bronco Sport, order banks should be opening up here in a couple weeks for Bronco as well. No scheduling this week for Bronco. Again, just like with the others, they've scheduled out their November production dates and production capacities. Next up, 25 model year Mach-E. Order banks are open up for the 25 model year, just like with Bronco Sport. That order bank will open up as well October 15th. That's coming up here in a couple weeks. Currently this week, though, no scheduling. They've, again, just like the others, they've scheduled out their production for November. All right. Next up, 26 model year Explorer. Order banks are open up for the Explorer, and they are not scheduling either this week. Just like with the others, they've scheduled out their November and are at this point waiting for new allocations to set for production so they can start getting ready for December. All right. Next up, 26 model year Expedition. Order banks are open up for the Expedition for 26 model year, and they are scheduled this week. They're doing cleanup scheduling. So they started scheduling a little later than the other factories did because they were only scheduled for the weeks of 17 and the week of 11/24. So they're only doing 2 weeks for startup for 26 model year because they're starting mid-month for that the new model year. So cleanup scheduling means any dealer with an allocation. So a lot of dealers pretty much got theirs scheduled last week for the most part, but sometimes what they'll do is do retails 1 week and then go ahead and fulfill it with stock. So in that case, there may be a chance if you put an order within the last week that you can get scheduled this week. So, all right, next up is a 26 model year Maverick. Order banks are open up for the Maverick, and they are scheduled this week. Cleanup scheduling as well. Again, a dealer needs an allocation to get scheduled, but they are scheduled for the weeks of 11/3 through the weeks of 11/24. And just mention in here again, like it's mentioned last couple of weeks, the order guide still showing that marsh gray is an available color, but is not. They're not going to make any marsh grays this model year, so they will fix the order guide soon. But for right now, just so you know that you'll want to switch your color, or else it just won't schedule. And then don't forget that new 2.0 EcoBoost front-wheel drive option for XL and XLT is available. They are needing and looking for some Lobo orders, so they need some of those. And then exhausted availability for the Lariat version with a hybrid all-wheel drive. So that's one of the only exhausted availabilities in the order system for Maverick right now. So, all right. Next up is a 25 model year Ranger. Order banks are open up for the 25 model year. No scheduling this week. And they've already scheduled out for the November, and they should be, order bank will be opening up here in October 15th for the Ranger as well. So there you go. We'll have 4 order banks that are going to open up the same day. 3 that we have confirmed. That is Ranger, Bronco Sport, and Mach-E. Bronco has not confirmed for sure that it's going to be that day, but I don't see why it wouldn't. But there we go. All right, next up is the 26 model year Super Duty. Order banks are open up for them. They are scheduled this week. Super Duty is one of those rare ones where they actually schedule every week, so they won't schedule all the month up like they do some of the other plants. They like to plateau it out. So they're going to be scheduled at Kentucky for the weeks of 10/13 through the weeks of 10/27. So they usually don't schedule out as far either. And then also Ohio is scheduling for the weeks of 10/20 through the weeks of 10/27. And usually what the difference is if it's one for a retail purchase, it's got a cab on it or a bed on it, then it's probably going to be Kentucky. So that's usually where that one, they'll do that. Ohio will usually do the cab and chassis and those fleet Super Duties. All right. They are needing some orders for F250 and F350 XL, XLT Lariats with the 6.8 liter gas engine, the 7.3 liter gas engine, or the 6.7 liter diesel engine, the standard diesel, for regular, super, and crew cabs. So they're looking for some of those orders. They are also needing some without the console. So that's pretty much what they're needing right there. And they are needing some regular and super cab chassis cabs with a 7.3 liter gas engine for the F350. So, All right, very limited exhaust availability for the following items: the F550, the Platinum Plus package, the Lariat Premium package. That's a new one. The wheel center ornament. You'll find that's included in the two-wheel drive single rear wheel with the black hub covers and the 10.5 axle. Also, the 11.6 axle size that's available on the F250 and F350 is very limited exhausted. XLT version with the bucket seats is very limited exhausted. Bucket seats in general is exhausted. And then very limited exhausted, I should say. Tailgate step also, and then the medium dark slate and Baja trims. That is actually has the different trim codes in here: 2S, 2J, 3J, 3S, 5J, and 6J. So there you go. That's those interiors. So usually that number dictates what trim level. So I think 3 is like an XLT. 5 I think is Lariat. I don't know. Anyway, so you can look on your order sheet. It should have that interior code for you. So, all right. Next up is the 25 model year F-150. The order banks are now open up for the 26 model year, and 25 model year is closing tomorrow. So that'll close tomorrow. At this point, I wouldn't order a 25 if I were you, because it's probably not going to get scheduled. They are scheduled this week for the weeks of 10/13 to the weeks of 12/1. So if a dealer has an allocation, then they could get yours scheduled, but it would probably have to happen this week. And here are some important notes. If you are trying to get that last 25 in at the end of the model year, maybe you looked at the 26, didn't like it. I did a video on the changes. If you didn't like some of the 26 changes and you're like, oh, I want a 25, now would be the time to do it. Hopefully your dealer has an allocation. But here are some things to keep in mind if you do that. For the 25 model year King Ranch, the tailgate flex step, or that Pro Access step, is unavailable. So let's say to remove that option. So that's option 63T. Also, STX with the 5.0 is a retail only. And it says for XLT and Lariat versions, please note that the new standard wheel is an 18-inch painted aluminum wheel. That's 64N. And then due to the Kansas City Assembly Plant early balance out to prepare for 26 model year, it's a very low take rate of less than 5% for the Atlas blue color and the Rapid red metallic color. And it does say remain ineligible for Kansas City scheduling. It says antimatter blue and space white are eligible for Kansas City scheduling with limited availability. So, and then it does say Dearborn truck plant is unaffected. So only Kansas City has those kind of restrictions on those colors. So it does say Atlas blue will be balancing out next week for Dearborn though. And then spec changes cancellations will be shut off October 2nd. So limited availability for the 3.5 hybrid engine, the 2.7 liter gas engine, the 3.5 liter V6 EcoBoost engine, the 5.2 liter, that's your supercharged for the Raptor, which means Raptor R, Lobo Street package, also the 275/60 R20 all-terrain tire that's optional on the 302A, included in the 303A, standard on King Ranch, and then the 18-inch black painted aluminum wheel that's included in the STX 201A, as well as the twin panel moonroof. Those are pretty low availability. So if you are looking to get that one of those last ones, take those into consideration. A lot of the engines are limited, right? Availability. 5.0 was not listed. That's probably the only one that wasn't listed, right? So there you go. All right, next up is the 25 model year F-150 Lightning. Order banks are open up for 26 model year, currently open up for 25. They'll probably close along with the regular F-150s in a couple of days, so get those in. I kind of like the 26 changes for most of it, so I'd probably look at that anyway. They are scheduled this week for the weeks of 11/24 to the weeks of 12/1. And then also it says limited availability for the Pro version, the Flash version, and the Lariat version. So that basically makes it available for XLT and Platinum is what they're looking to schedule. And lastly, 26 model year Transit. Order banks are open up for the 26 model year. They're scheduled this week for the weeks of 10/27 to the weeks of 11/17. Does say best availability is the high roof extended van, the high roof long van, the low roof van, medium roof van, all cutaway and chassis cabs. And it says very or limited availability for the large grab handle kit, the 2D pillars. That's option 60F. So that's the only constraint there. So there you go. So that's all the information for scheduling for this week. And I want to go over as a bonus. I usually do this at the beginning of every month or at the very end to the rollover, right? And so this is the notes that I have for the overview for scheduling for it'll start in a couple weeks. So usually they'll schedule this week and probably next week. And so this will start October 16th is probably when they'll start scheduling for these notes here. And this is for December production dates. So this is what dealers will use their October allocations for the build dates in December. So here's some of the notes on this. There's several of them that are bouncing out, a couple startups as well. So let's go into this. All right. So these will be in different order than they were for the other ones. So 25 model year Mustang Mach-E is December balance out. Balance out means the end of production for that model year. So they're going to only schedule for 2 weeks of production, the weeks of 12/1 and the week of 12/8. So no constraints or anything mentioned there. All right. 26 Mustang, 26 model year Mustang, they are scheduled for 2 weeks of production, the weeks of 12/1 through the week of 12/8. Does say in here GT will be 20% controlled production. Retail only packages on GT are the Mustang FX, GT Performance, Night Pony. So you're aware of that. There you go. Next up is the 25 model year Bronco. It is December balance out. Does say in here 3.5 weeks. First time I've ever seen a half a week. They're scheduling for the weeks of 12/1 through the weeks of 12/22. So they're going to go up to Christmas probably. So there you go. Until when the plant's down for their vacation. It says Big Ben will be 33% of the production. The molded in carbonized gray, molded in top is free demand. They can make plenty of those because they're not getting any orders for them. They need Badlands orders. And it does say 0% manual transmission for the Sasquatch on the Big Ben, base, and the Heritage. So no manual transmissions for those 3 trim levels if you order the Sasquatch, which we know the Heritage Edition is standard Sasquatch. All right, next up is the 25 model year Bronco Sport. It's December balance out, 3.5 weeks as well. So they're going to schedule for the weeks of 12/1 through the weeks of 12/22. Here's the breakdown. 46% will be Big Ben, 42% will be Outer Banks, 1% will be Badlands, 0% will be Badlands Tech Package for balance out. So it's pretty much done. If you have a Badlands Tech Package, if you didn't get it scheduled, then you're probably out of luck. And I wouldn't order one. 0% engine block heater as well until January of 2026. All right, that's the notes for Bronco Sport. All right, next up is the 26 Explorer. They're going to schedule for 3.5 weeks of production. So basically, it'd normally be a full month, but because of the holiday, right, they're only going to produce for 3.5 weeks, right? They're going to cut off half the week for people to be off, right, at the plant. So the weeks of 12/1 to the weeks of 12/22, and then it says 43.5% production will be the 2.3 liter 4-wheel drive options. 25% will be ST. 10.5% will be trimmer with a 3.0 liter. And then 24.7% will be ST line. 0% will be active. So there you go. All right. Next up is the 26 model year Expedition. Again, 3.5 weeks production. Weeks of 12/1 through the weeks of 12/22. It says no entity selection controls. 24-inch is scheduling. So that one that's been a struggle last year, it's good to go right now. All right, next up is a 26 model year Maverick. It's saying 4 weeks of production, the weeks of 12/1 to the weeks of 12/22. It does say must use Lobo and trimmer. Will be 16% between the two. That's pretty high. 7% gas front-wheel drive. 51% will be hybrid. 0% engine block heater until January of 2026. That's the only notes I have there. Next up is a 25 model year Ranger. It's going to be December balance out for Ranger, 3.5 weeks for the weeks of 12/1 through the weeks of 12/22. It does say in here 10% production for the 2.7-liter engine. So that's good because I think that's been pretty low, and especially people that want that. All right, that's the only note I have for Ranger. All right, next up, 26 model year F-150. That'll be December startup, a half of a week at Dearborn, 4.5 weeks at Kansas City. So, um, so Kansas City will go from the weeks of 12/24 through the weeks of 12/22, whereas Dearborn will start the week of 12/22. It'll do a half of a week, so it's going to be startup. So Kansas City, they make a lot of the XL XLTs, some Lariats in that plant. All right, they need some 2.7-liter orders, 0%, 3.5-liter, or 3.5 hybrid. So they're not going to make the 3.5 at startup. It looks like 0%. And it says recommend removing max trailer tow. So there you go. One thing you'll notice there is, again, Kansas City, this is mainly Kansas City production, right? So they need some 2.7 liters, and 5.0, they don't mention that they need it, but pretty much those are the two engines that they're making in Kansas City. So that Lobo is probably being made in Kansas City. A lot of your XL, STXs, and XLTs are made in Kansas City. So that's what they're going to probably get. The startups production will be those models or those vehicles. All right, next up, 26 model year Super Duty, December production, 3.5 weeks there. So the weeks of 12/1 through the weeks of 12/22. And then we do have regional for F450 pickup will be back to 6.7%. So that's pretty good because it was a little low there for a little bit, but it's back to 6.7% production. Crew cab nationally is going to be 83% of the production, that's good to see. That's a good high number. All right, next up, 26 model year Transit, 8 weeks of production. So they're going to schedule for like 8 weeks. So the weeks of 12/1 through the weeks of 1/26. So I don't know if this is going to like end of job one or something, why they're scheduling that far out, but they are. It does say in here, high roof passenger will be 2%. The high demand for mid roof passenger through rental season. So there you go, high demand for that. All right, next up is the 26 model year F-150 Lightning. Startup, 1.5 weeks of production, the weeks of 12/8 to the weeks of 1/5. It says there. And it says new OTD, no OTD controls. OTD is order to delivery. So it's for dealers, stock stuff. It's for the stock ordering. It does say in here STX will be 34% of the production. And it does say in here that looks like Flash will be 34% of the production. And then Lariat will be 25%, and the Platinum will be 7%. So, and then we did a video on what's different and changed for the 26 Lightning. Please check out that video. There are some changes. STX is basically replacing XLT, but it'll be standard extended range. So there is no standard range anymore. It's gone away in a sense. And STX is that off-road version. So it'll come with the standard with the electronic locker and that kind of stuff and some graphics and all that, but you can get a graphic delete if you like. So anyway, there you go. And then there is no XLT. So Flash would be the other version if you want to go that route. All right, next up is the 26 model year E-Transit. 4 weeks of production for, let's say November. So the weeks of 11/3 through the weeks of 11/24. No low roof until the push button start issue has been resolved. And it does say standard, which is standard on all E-Transits. So there you go. All right. Now let's talk about specialty vehicles for a second. They usually run along with the others, but let's go any notes here. So 26 model year Dark Horse, Mustang Dark Horse, 2 weeks of production, the weeks of 12/1 through the weeks of 12/8. It says handling package no longer available until April production dates. So they usually schedule 2 weeks in advance, so you won't see those scheduled until February. All right, next up is the 25 model year Ranger Raptor. This is December balance out, 3.5 weeks, the weeks of 12/1 through the weeks of 12/22. No commodity or constraints. Next up, 26 F-150 Raptor. This would be your 800 and your 801, 802 A's. So it'll be December startup, half of a week, Basically, does mention here the week of 11/24 through 12/22. Those dates aren't right, so it's going to be I think Raptors half a week, so they're going to be made in Dearborn. So it's going to be basically in December at the very end of the year. 45% will be 801A, 55% will be 802A. That's kind of flip flop now. So there you go. And 802A, that's your Raptor 37 package. All right. Next up is a 26 F-150 Raptor R. Those are separate. Allocations are separate as well. December startup, half of a week of scheduling, very end of December. No constraints on that. So, all right. Next up, 25 model year Bronco Raptor. This is going to be December balance out, 3.5 weeks, the weeks of 12/1 through the weeks of 12/22. And no constraints for Bronco Raptor as well. So there you go. So that's all the information that we have for not only this week of scheduling, but also what the overview is for wholesale for the end of the year, basically, right? For those December production dates. So it's kind of cool to see that. Again, I got a lot of balance outs for a lot of models. And then startup for F-150 is happening. And again, I talked about the different plants. Kansas City is starting up right around Thanksgiving, whereas Dearborn will be right after Christmas. So there you go. All right. If you have any questions, drop them down below. Good luck to everybody getting scheduled. And again, a lot of models aren't scheduled this week. They're waiting for the new allocations to get set because they already have their November production set up. But for those that do get scheduled, you'll get scheduled for those October or November build dates. So good luck to you guys, and drop down the comments if you do get scheduled. If you have any questions, I'll try to help you out as soon as I can. And until then, hope you guys have a great week. Stay positive, be kind to one another, be kind to yourself. We'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.